I wrote a screenplay based on my Conversations with Brando book. And I think Woody Harrelson would be really good to play Brando.
Time to hear more from Larry Grobel. You also write some screenplays. I was curious what that entailed. What sort of screenwriting do you do?
I wrote a screenplay based on my Conversations with Brando book. And that's, Anthony Hopkins wanted to do it. Rutger Hauer read it, and he came to LA to promote his book, and he met with me, and he said, I don't know if I'm big enough for you, but if I could play Brando, he says, I'll do it, And what do I know? I'm just the writer. I wasn't a producer. And so, and Hopkins, I turned Hopkins down. It's hard to believe, but he pissed me off about something. And I said, you know what, forget you. But so that script's still available. And I think Woody Harrelson would be really good to play Brando. I think that James Spader would be really good to play Brando. Among the other actors that could do it, those two I've always thought would be good. I showed it to Jeff Bridges, the script, and he liked it. He said, Larry, he's the one who said, I know who should do this. He says, Woody Harrelson would be great for this. So I'm grateful for that, but I don't know how to get to Woody Harrelson. I've tried to get to through his publicist. I haven't had any luck to get to him. I recently got in touch with Fisher Stevens, and I said, Fisher, direct this thing, show this to Spader, so I don't know. I sent him the script. I don't know what's happening. So that's where that's at. So that's available. I wrote a few other screenplays as well. One of my first ones was called Canvases. I'd done a story about a guy named Joseph Kosman. He's a guy who created the ant farm in plastic. You'd send away for the ants, you'd buy the vial. He came up with the rubber shrunken head that you hung from your rearview mirror, that all kinds of bizarre things. Toy soldiers, 100 toy soldiers for $1 that was in comic books. These were all his products. So I thought he was a con man, and I convinced a couple of different magazines to let me write about him. And I went to see him, and he wasn't a con man. He was a very genuinely interesting man. And he actually did lectures. People paid $1,000 or $750 to come hear him speak, and he would tell you how to make $1 million a mail order. That's what he wrote a book on. So, and then I also got very involved in the 70s with performance artists, and some of them have become very famous. Chris Burden, who, if you go to the LA County Museum, the lights, the street lights in the front of the museum, that's Chris Burden's work. But he's got his work inside as well. But Chris Burden got known because of some of the bizarre things he did. He was shot in the arm. He had his lawyer shoot him with a rifle at University of Irvine as part of his graduate program. And it was the shot heard around the art world. It made the cover of some magazines and whatever. And then Paul McCarthy, who is now one of the leading artists, so his work sells for millions of dollars. Well, Paul was a struggling artist that, I helped him out by giving him $50 for one of his works. It was that kind of thing. But the performance artists did strange stuff, and I got pretty involved in their work, and I started to write about them. So it occurred to me to write a screenplay about a performance artist who was already a bizarre character, whose father was a guy like Kosman, who was a businessman, but also a performance artist in his own way, they clashed, sort of like Tony Soprano and his son, and AJ, there was always a clash. So I wrote a screenplay based on that. I only showed that to one person, Brad Davis. Now, I don't know if you know who Brad Davis is, but Brad Davis was the star of Midnight Express, and he was a very good actor. And then Brad Davis died. But he and I were asked to judge a dance contest at Universal Studios, and we got to know each other. So I said, hey, you'd be perfect for this performance artist guy. And he read it. He wanted to do it. It was great, but he died, and nothing happened. I put the thing away and went on to another one. I wrote a genetic engineering thriller called Helix, and that had to do with having babies. You go to a fertility clinic and you get an embryo, and the idea of this one was that you got a second embryo that you didn't know about, and one was black and one was white. It was a pretty powerful screenplay. again, I sold the idea of it. Somebody paid us to write it. And then again, the guy who put up the money, one of the richest men in Alaska, he died. So all that fell over. So, this is what happened. I mean, Pacino liked the script a lot. I thought he might do it, but that didn't happen. One is called Anything for a Laugh. That's based on high school years. It's sort of My American Pie kind of, movie. Oh, The Black Eyes of Allah. This is based on a dream I had. And it was a very scary dream. I dreamt this thing over the years. Every 2 or 3 years, the same dream came back. And it was like a nightmare about a young couple who are leaving the Peace Corps, idealistic. And they're leaving Africa. And they're going to the Seychelles Islands on a cargo boat. And they're working their way there and then to India. And everything that can go wrong goes wrong for this couple on the boat. And it's a really scary story. And it just troubled me, but I wrote it. And I wrote it first as a short story. And I actually published it in my book of short stories called The Narcissist, the story's there. I also published I wrote the screenplay, and I published the screenplay in a book of mine as well. So both of those are available. Oliver Stone wanted to do it. Oliver Stone liked it, and he actually paid me some money to do it. But then what happened is Oliver had a falling out with the president of his company, and he decided he doesn't want to do any other work except his own work. So I got it back. And again, I haven't tried to sell any of these things. I don't have an agent because I'm too old, and nobody gives a shit about somebody if you're over 40, basically. So I have scripts, and I love writing these scripts. And I have this new book I wrote that came out recently is called Turquoise. It's about my life in Ghana, but it's a relationship I had with this young African boy, and we became very close. And so we had a lot of different kinds of adventures. And then there's a love story because I fell in love with a young woman who's now a very famous journalist. So between the triangle of the relationship with this Ghanaian young boy, he was in his 20s, and the young woman and myself, it's a few people who have read this thing said you should write a screenplay based on this. This is a good story idea, and it is a good idea, but I haven't gotten around to it. Anybody out there wants me to do it, I'm happy to do it.
Yes, I know. Get this man's movies made.
Yeah, really. Before I die, I'd like to see one movie done.
Awesome. Well, Larry, thank you so much for sharing all your stories with me today. You have lived an amazing life. I know we could hear so many more, but unfortunately, I can only record an hour on here before it cuts off. So thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. And if you're able to come to the festival, it's September 8th through the 11th, and we'd love to see you there.
Oh, yeah. Drop me a note about it.
Thank you for watching the Burbank International Film Festival's Real Conversations. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel, and also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And learn everything you need to know about the festival at burbankfilmfest.org. Before you go, stick around and see other videos we have to offer, like these two. Look at that. Seem interesting to me. There's a lot to choose from, and more always coming. See you next time.